Right, hello there. In this video we're back in Godot. This time I feel it's best to get into the 3D aspects of this engine. Now, I've worked with 3D engines in the past, mainly Unity, so all we need to do here is figure out the differences between Godot and Unity when it comes to setting a 3D environment. The main thing I want to do is make a nice little environment. No fancy game, just an environment. Why? In game development, especially 3D, it is important to make things look good. Obviously, this comes with modelling, but I don't know how to make good looking models yet. However, because of how advanced Godot has become, we can actually use the power of shaders and post-processing in this game engine. These tools are very powerful to use, because even with great models, they won't work if your environment is a bit naff. So, my main goals of this is to learn a very basic 3D setup for Godot, learn Godot's version of post-processing, and learn Godot's shading language, which is similar to GLSL I've heard, all to create a sound environment. Let's get into it. The first thing I did was create a basic little environment using the node system. Very different to Unity, but wasn't hard to accomplish. Now, we just need to attach some scripts. I'm just going to use Godot's character controller template for this project. Then I made a basic camera script using what I know from a basic Unity first-person camera script, and it failed. After looking through it and the docs, I just went to DeepSeek, which provided me with this lovely script that all I had to do was change some values around, and here we have a lovely first-person controller. Time for the actual environment now. We need an actual environment to be able to effectively try out these features. So, I started blocking out the environment. I didn't really have a vision, I just shoved things where I thought they were cool. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't actually done this kind of thing before. Anyways, we have ourselves a blocked out scene right here, which means the next step is to actually add in assets. Now, the assets we'll be using here today, I got from a Humble Bundle deal like a couple of years ago, so they'll finally come in handy. And let me tell you, it is so tedious having to go through all these models, since there were so many yet so few were actually relevant to what I needed. After all that, we have ourselves a scene complete with all the assets. Here, you can see the before and after. Alright, let's move on to post-processing effects. This, as you may know, is where you can actually make a scene look really good or really mid. Since I barely do this, the only thing I could do was experiment, and that I did. For example, turns out if you set the tone mapping to aces with a white value of 0, then the scene turns into this? I don't know what to say, it's got a certain charm to it. Anyways, messing around with the world environment leads us to this. You could tell I used a lot of volumetric fog because, hey, I just learned about it. I think it looks cool. This is something I gotta get better at in the future, but for now, we have this neat little scene. For the final thing I wanted to do, I placed down a cube and got to work figuring out how shaders worked in Godot. Luckily, it is very similar to GLSL, which I had learned in my previous video about how it works and all that. So all I needed to do was just check the Godot documentation. We can see this shader where I messed around with the model view matrix a bit. Anyways, after figuring out what I wanted to do with this cube, I made a little shader that basically made it glow depending on how you looked at it and how it was rotated. And now, we finally have this as a finished project. So, for my current objectives, I'd say this is as good a project as I can get, as it was a learning experience. Post-processing is a cool endeavour that I really just need to get more experience in, but for now, I think it's time to move on. If you made it that far and enjoyed the video, then please consider hitting the like button and subscribing because that'll help me out quite a bit. See ya.